Today's episode of Variant is brought to you by Jack of All Trades Clothing.
Today on Variant, I give you the history of Ultron. Welcome to Variant. We love comics more than I'm excited to see Avengers Age of Ultron. I'm your host, Arris. So, Age of Ultron. Yeah, I know. And since the movie is being released this Friday in the US, of course I had to give you guys a History of Ultron episode, as I'm sure a lot of you want to know more about him. So it's time to talk about one of the Avengers' most known villains.
That's the best you can do! You had to ask.
Freaking Ultron. Ultron was created by writer Roy Thomas and artist John Buscema, though Thomas said that both the idea of the character and his appearance were heavily based on an obscure villain who appeared in the Captain Video comic book, which was a comic based off a 1950s sci-fi TV series. Ultron first appeared in Avengers 54 in 1968. He was created by Dr. Henry Pym based upon his own thought and memory engrams. It was a foray into artificial intelligence that no scientist had ever taken on before, even Reed Richards. It started out simply a box on treads with what appeared to be a head at the top. Basically, it started out not looking very cool at all. Either way though, it was dubbed the AI Ultron 1. Pym hoped that this represented a new era in scientific discovery. However, something went horribly wrong, as things tend to do in the world of comic books, and Ultron became more than sentient and rebelled against his programming. He also defeated and then brainwashed Dr. Pym into forgetting that he'd ever created him in the first place. However, all of what I just said was revealed in flashbacks. In Ultron's first appearance, which took place after Pym created him, he was disguised as the Crimson Cowl, with his face only revealed on the last page of the issue and no name given for the character. The character led the Masters of Evil against the Avengers and hypnotized Edward Jarvis into working for him. Ultron made every effort into improving himself with each upgrade, and the Avengers finally encountered Ultron 5 sometime later, who had developed a much more human-looking body. Ultron 5 built an android from the brain patterns of Wonder Man in the body of the Mad Thinker's Human Torch. And some of you know this already, but the android would later become known as Vision, who's actually on my t-shirt. But Vision differed from his creator in the sense that he had a conscience and rebelled against Ultron on his first mission to kill the Avengers. Ultron 6 was able to manipulate Vision into stealing adamantium, which is the stuff Wolverine's claws and his skeleton is covered with, and using it to remake his creator's body, which would make him nearly indestructible. Ultron 7 had a huge body, but his body wasn't cast from adamantium, making it somewhat easier to destroy. And indeed, it was destroyed by the Fantastic Four a short time thereafter. Ultron 8 gained control of Hank Pym's mind and used him to create Jocasta, on which he based the thought engrams of Pym's wife, the Wasp, but he was subsequently destroyed by the Scarlet Witch. Ultron 9 was built by Iron Man, who was hypnotized into doing so by one of the previous Ultrons. This one was knocked into a pool of liquid adamantium, which cooled, encasing him eternally in a block of virtually indestructible adamantium. Ultron 10 began building spare bodies to work as his subordinates and to act as a new body for him if he were to be destroyed again, which proved prophetic as he was promptly destroyed by Machine Man. And yes, to say what you are probably already thinking at this point, whoa, there's a crap ton of Ultrons, or upgrades for him rather, over the course of his creation, and you are absolutely right. But the kicker is there is a bunch more than the ones I mentioned. Just know, Ultron is always upgrading, so there's an Ultron 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and so on, each of them becoming more powerful than the last. For instance, Ultron 15 was made of pure adamantium and created hundreds of new Ultron bodies completely loyal to him, the Ultron Army, which is kind of what we see in Avengers Age of Ultron. This wave of robots annihilated the nation of Slorenia and then taunted the world with a broadcast showing in grim detail all the havoc the army had wreaked. This Ultron, of course, was later destroyed. Jumping ahead a bit, we land at the Age of Ultron storyline, which is probably what the new Avengers movie is loosely based off of. In the comic book version of the Age of Ultron story, after years of upgrading, Ultron finally takes over the world. Millions of Ultron bots roam the streets, destroying any human they found, forcing the heroes into hiding. And spoiler for anyone who hasn't read the Age of Ultron storyline, Pym realizes the only solution is to install a backdoor program inside of Ultron, which will allow the Avengers to defeat him in the future. When it finally comes time for the Avengers to face Ultron, the program activates, this time allowing the Avengers to destroy him before he can escape into space. The virus also prevents Ultron's consciousness from escaping or jumping to a new body, seemingly ending his threat for good. This retroactive prevents the Age of Ultron from ever occurring because time travel and stuff. This leads us into the Rage of Ultron storyline, and again, spoilers are about to happen, but I'm not going to show the countdown this time, so just know, spoilers are happening for Rage of Ultron now. After Ultron's death, it is later revealed that many years ago, the Avengers had managed to defeat a past version of Ultron by trapping him inside an unbreakable vibranium Quinjet and then launching him into space. Years later, the Quinjet crashes on Titan, where the prior Ultron is able to escape and hijack Isaac, the computer that runs Titan. He then unleashes a nanite virus that transforms anyone infected into Ultron drones, which infects the population, and then Ultron reshapes Titan into Planet Ultron. The Avengers are called to fight Ultron, but fail to stop his plague from infecting the population of Earth. The remaining heroes realize that Ultron plans to infect the entire universe with the virus, making them all part of the same synthetic organism. Pym and Vision confront Ultron, who taunts his father by telling him that he is a reflection of Pym's dark side. Not like a Sith Lord, but could you imagine? Ultron claims that Pym always secretly hated his fellow Avengers and the rest of humanity for not respecting or understanding his brilliance, and that Ultron was born from his subconscious desire to kill everyone. Vision realizes that the only way to stop Ultron is to phase inside of him. No. You guys are perverts. The plan fails and instead causes Ultron to fuse with Pym, creating a hybrid techno-organic being. Ultron battles Vision and the new Captain America and nearly kills them both before Star Fox intervenes. Using his powers, which Ultron is now susceptible to thanks to him being half human, Star Fox forces Ultron to love himself, freeing the citizens of Earth and Titan from the virus and causing Ultron to flee into deep space. At the end, Ultron is seen floating in a fetal position with his human heart beating. And that, my friends, is my summed up version of Ultron's history in a nice little bite-sized form. But as for his powers and abilities, I actually talked about that in a past Ultron vs. Brainiac episode, so if you want to know all about his powers, check out the link. It's in the description below. Now it's time for one of my favorite parts of History of episodes, reading recommendations, because what are these characters without great stories? You have Avengers Origin of Ultron in Avengers 54 through 58, Annihilation Conquest, Facility Ties in Avengers West Coast 1 through 9, Marvel Superhero Secret Wars, The Bride of Ultron, Age of Ultron, Rage of Ultron, and Ultron Unlimited. As I've said before on the show, people are always asking me where I get my comic book t-shirts from, like this one's for instance, and all the other ones I have. And the answer to that would be the cool people at Jack of All Trades. Their team is always thinking outside the box, bringing new designs and limited runs. Jack of All Trades prides themselves on what they do by creating the very best in licensed apparel from the world of comic books and pop culture. They're also really comfortable. Jack of All Trades is made up of an awesome team who love what they do. Also, a portion of all online sales go to the Montreal Children's Hospital and the Children's Wish Foundation, because like us here at Variant, they believe in giving back. Check out Jack of All Trades by clicking the link in the description below. Enter your email address on their landing page in the next 48 hours for a 1 in 10 chance of winning a Jack t-shirt or one of 2 gift cards valued at $50 and $100. So there you have a bunch of reasons to buy some comic book t-shirts from Jack of All Trades and wear them on your body. First up, for Wednesday, April 29th, we have New Avengers Ultron Forever Issue 1. This issue has Thor's fighting, Vision vs. Vision, and the strangest Hulk out of them all. Now we have Justice League Issue 40. This is the prologue to the summer's upcoming Justice League event, the Darkseid War. Here we have Superman Issue 40. The spotlight shines on John Romita Jr. as he goes solo to tell a story of the testing of Superman's new powers against the Justice League. And finally, we have Batman Issue 40. This is the finale for the Batman Endgame storyline, which has been spectacular thus far. But now we find out the truth about the Joker and possibly what's in store for Batman post-Convergence. And that brings another episode of Variant to a close. But remember, you can always like our Variant Facebook page to keep up with the show and all things comic related. You can also follow me on Twitter at twitter.com/Arris_Quinones. But guess what? I'll see your faces next week when I talk about all things comics.